That is talking about the Institute of Strategic Management, Nigeria, and our guest is right there in the studio. Abiodun, who is our guest?
Yes, our guest is the Registrar, Institute of Strategic Management, Nigeria. The institute will be having its AGM, Annual General Meeting,
conference,
in Osogbo between the 4th and 6th of July. So, some people will ask.
Let's not mention his name.
Oh, sorry. We have the registrar, Mr. Adeyemi, Mapaderun. You are welcome to OSBC.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
You're also welcome to SMT, Saturday Morning Trade.
You do a nice job here. Anytime I'm around, I watch you. And it's one of the very few bilingual programs that we have on Nigerian television.
Thank you. Maybe because you are also a Yoruba man, you appreciate the bilingual program. Yes, so people will ask, what is Institute of Strategic Management Nigeria? And when you look at the name, one would have expected that it would have expected to be Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria. But in your own case, no of, but you just would comma then Nigeria. What was it all about?
Well, everything we do has a tinge of uniqueness and peculiarity. It's just a matter of nomenclature. Off is used very often by many organizations, and rather than put the off, we chose to use a comma after management. So it's a matter of nomenclature. The institute is the institute that controls and regulates the practice of strategic management in Nigeria.
When we say strategic management, what do we actually mean?
Well, ordinarily, when we say strategic management is managing with strategy. But that raises another question. What then is strategy?
What do we manage?
Now, and then we can take it for granted that people know what management is all about. And so, how is strategic management different from general management as people know it? Now, like I said, one could simply say strategic management is managing with strategy, but the issue is what then is strategy. Between the two words, strategy is the one that will require some explanation. But strategy is actually a derivative of two Greek words, stratos and argo, which means army leadership. So, and then strategy then is about leadership. And the concern of leadership essentially is to ensure that whatever organization that you belong gets to the critical destination that you have predetermined for it. In other words, at the outset of any human life or any organization, there must be a vision of what we want to be at this particular time. And it is a duty of the strategic leadership applying strategic management and strategy to set the vision, the mission, the strategic imperatives, and then the critical success factors for that organization. Hopefully, as this program goes on, we may have the opportunity of expatiating on what those terminologies exactly mean. But for those who are professional strategists, they understand that that is the essential difference between strategic management and general management, because in general management, you're just talking about planning, coordinating, directing, controlling. But in strategic management, you are looking at strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and then strategy evaluation and control, placing major emphasis on the environment. So many other aspects of life you can control.
Okay, who are the people that constitute your institute? Or how the membership? How could one be a member?
Well, let me start from the last leg of the question. Membership is open to all Nigerians and non-Nigerians living in Nigeria who have a minimum of a first degree of or its equivalent in any discipline. So our institute is more or less an umbrella professional institute for all other professions. We have accountants, broadcasters, clergymen, engineers, who are all members of the institute, because they all require strategy to properly navigate, their organizations. Now, with respect to the membership levels, we have 3 levels of membership. The entry point is associate membership. Okay. And after that, we have the full membership and then the fellowship. But we also have a class of members who are distinguished Nigerians from different aspects of life. And whenever we identify such people, we make them honorary fellows of the Institute and or grant fellows of the Institute. Now, with regard to those who are the personalities in the ISMN, the Institute is an organization that is owned by every member. Every member of the Institute is a part owner because they pay subscription. It's non-governmental, it is non-for-profit, and so we don't really have, in the strict sense, a board of directors that you can refer to as owners. However, as of today, the Institute has a governing council, which is headed by Major General Leo Ajiborisha, retired, who incidentally was a pioneer military administrator of this state. But before then, we had Dr. Osun who is a founding president of the Institute, a public servant by excellence, and very deep intellectual Nigerian, who got used to actually start this institute in 2003. The other members of governing council, and then we also have a board of advisors, which is made up of honorary fellows and grand fellows of the institute. Incidentally, as we speak, we have 4 serving governors who at various times became grand fellows of the institute. We have Babatunde Raji Fashola of Lagos, we have Adams Oshomole of Edo, we have Rochas Okorocha of Imo, and the last but not the least is the Ogbeni himself, Ogbeni Rauf Adesoji Aregbesola, the governor of the state of Osun. There are so many other prominent Nigerians. Let me just seize this opportunity, really, to mention that one of our honorary fellows, a distinguished Nigerians, Ambassador Segun Lushola, passed on about 2 days ago. I want to use this opportunity to extend my commiseration to Nigerians on the demise of Ambassador Lushola, who happened to be one of us.
May soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Yes, in what way has the Institute impacted on the society?
Oh, the Institute has made giant strides in the Nigerian society, if you permit me to say so. Our vision as an institute is not just for membership or for status symbol, but to actually impact positively on not just Nigeria, but the black race as a whole. The reason is this: for every 4 black people we find in the world, 1 is a Nigerian. And so we believe that Nigeria has a major responsibility to the black race. And so anything that has to do with Nigeria has implications for blacks all over the world. And so we set for ourselves a vision of ensuring that Nigeria and Africa become major players in the global society. In other words, we hopefully believe that in the not too distant future, Africa will not be regarded as the dark continent anymore. Africa will be, a place where development, will become a culture. And in doing that, we have impacted on several aspects of the Nigerian society. I want to say, with every sense of pride, that the Institute played an active role in charting the direction that Lagos State is known for today. In June 2008, we were invited or engaged by the Lagos State government to assist in the fine-tuning of its vision, for Lagos State, and to ensure that every stakeholder in Lagos State buys into that vision. And that we successfully did, and that is why I can say without any fear of controversation or contradiction that the public service in Lagos is one of the best public services in Nigeria, and that is the secret of the success that Lagos has witnessed in the last 6-7 years.
I think strategic management has to do with strategic thinking.
Very correct.
Where do the two meet?
Very correct. Strategic thinking is just a process in strategy formulation. Strategy formulation is when an individual or an organization decides to write a script of what he wants his life to be at the end of the age. And so that begins with strategic thinking. You want to, and that is why we work on the mind architecture of people. There are different kinds of individuals. There are people who just believe that, let me just sleep, when I wake up tomorrow, I will know what next to do. There are people who believe, particularly in this part of the world, that for you to make success in life, you need godfathers here and there, and that hard work don't pay. Education is no longer fashionable. But we found out that success is actually that point where opportunity meets with preparedness. And for you to be prepared for opportunities, let me also seize this opportunity to dispel the general notion that opportunities only come but once. Opportunities come as a stream of water, but it is only those who are prepared who can leverage the opportunity that we have in the society. So coming back to your question, strategic thinking is what you engage in that will bring to the fore what your strengths are as an individual or as an organization, what your weaknesses are, what opportunities are likely to arise in the environment, and then you decide on the best approach or the best strategy to achieve based on your identified strength and your identified weaknesses, and of course the opportunities and problems in the society. And that gives rise to the popular SWOT analysis, strength and weakness, opportunities and threats, which in our institute we have changed to a double T, because when we talk about threats, strategy for confronting threats will not work for confronting troubles. So we will now have a double T: strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, threats and troubles.
Yes, the key word about the institute is strategy, strategizing. And you have also informed us that your institute is an umbrella body of all professionals. So looking at Nigerian as a nation, many people will list the problems as including corruption, perhaps bad leadership, and recently insecurity. So if you are to, let's pick this insecurity now as a, looking at the key word of your institute, strategy. How do you think that problem could be solved or could have been solved?
Very good question. In 2011, just before the last general election, Nigerians were saying, we need a government that will just fix one problem for us. And that problem, was power. Let's just have power. We will fix all the other problems ourselves. Power is so central. But today, nobody is talking about power anymore. We're talking about security, or the absence of security. Now, what that tells you is that the environment is not static, and it is not advisable to begin to address issues that are symptomatic of a more profound and fundamental, problem that we have on ground. So the strategic management approach to addressing all these issues that we have raised, including insecurity, is for the leadership of the nation to apply strategy. Wherever you find, a crisis, it means there are certain interests that are not being catered for, or there are certain disgruntled elements in the environment. And so we are going to use both operational approach to address the problem and strategic approach. Let us take insecurity, for instance. The operational approach to insecurity is to get the agencies of government that are in charge of ensuring security to be on their toes, to be efficient, and to be effective. But that is, a palliative measure. There is a strategic approach which will only come to the fore when all stakeholders involved in this matter are brought to a round table, and then you will be able to identify what the profound problem is. In Nigeria today, people have talked about, a warped federal structure of government, whereby we are federal in name, but unitary in operation. And people, at some point, people thought, just change the leadership, give some people the sense of belonging, let them be in power, and then these problems will be solved. And that led to the emergence of, the Niger Delta as the president of this nation. But rather than, agitations subsiding, you found, a measure of terrorism never contemplated by any Nigerian coming to the fore in Nigeria, with suicide bombing almost every other day. When in December 2009, Abdul Muttalib attempted to blow, an airplane in the US, Nigerians were quick to say, you see, that guy has Nigerians love life, they don't want to die. But we now find people who will get into an SUV laden with explosives, and we knew they were going to die. This used to happen in Iraq, it's happened in the Middle East, but we never imagined that it will happen here. But it is right here living with us. And so, we do not have the capacity, the security operatives in Nigeria do not have the capacity to address this issue, in a sustainable manner. And that is when you find out, whenever there is a bombing in Bauchi, the Inspector General of Police will say, go and beef up security, in the issue directive, go and beef up security in Bauchi. What that translates to is that security operatives from certain areas will not be moved, and there will be concentration in Bauchi, and then these guys will go to Kaduna, and then you now move the same troops to Kaduna. So it's a vicious cycle. But we are saying, as an institute, that we need to restructure this country. We need to craft a strategy for Nigeria. In other words, as Nigerians, if I ask you, what is the purpose of Nigeria in the world today, everybody will come, 10 out of 10 people will come out of 10 different answers. Because as Nigerians, we don't really know what is the vision of Nigeria. If you wake a 6-year-old American today, it will tell you that the vision of America is to become the dominant country in the world, in every respect. And wherever they choose, they want to dominate. This has something to do with morality. What is the strategic approach of Nigeria? We are the largest country in Africa in terms of resources, in terms of people. What is our strategy? Do we want to dominate Africa? We had the chance to dominate Africa, but we frittered it. When America puts $100 million in a country, it is not charity.
So what will you then suggest? Because you have listed, you talk about the security, that it is only palliative, and giving us various insight into so many. So in specific time, what will you expect the federal government to do? Is it this approach of because you talk about interest the other time, those the agitators, they have a certain interest. So what should the federal government call them to a round table? Because we have had that, and those people have even said no, they are not prepared for that. So what will you then suggest in concrete and specific terms?
In concrete terms, we need. See, I don't want to use the word or the phrase, national conference, because it's something that has been overflowed. And it is overused, it is used and abused, and a lot of people are very emotional about it. But have you found out, have you asked yourself, why is it that pre-2011 most of the agitation for the convocation of a national conference in Nigeria were coming from the southern parts of Nigeria? And anytime the Afenifere people mention it, you find people dispelling it from the north. But today, you have powerful elements in the north saying we want a national conference. That is self-interest. But that also points to the fact that we cannot begin to call one people to the table one after the other. Let us call everybody to the table. There are latent interests in some other segments of this country that are not being addressed now. When we offered amnesty to the Niger Delta militants, we thought that was the end of terrorism in Nigeria. Now we're trying to talk to the Boko Haram, and then as we finish talking to the Boko Haram, you will find some other elements from other parts of the country coming up with their own agitation. Because the moment you do it for one, you have to do it for all. So why not have a round table that will restructure? Now, when you take so much powers away from the federal structure as it is today, everybody will be busy focusing on how to develop their part of the country. I can tell you. But today, even our governors, excellencies, go cap in hand to Abuja every month to collect, allocation. Whereas the issue should be, let the state generate resources, generate wealth, and then pay a percentage to the federal to take care of the military and some other general items under the exclusive list. There are so much issues loaded in the exclusive list in the Nigerian constitution today that there will always be one agitation after the other, because it is the man who occupies that seat in Aso Rock that everybody looks up to.
All right, sir, let's now quickly, because of time, talk about the 8th annual conference and meeting to be hosted in Osun State. What is it all about? What is the theme? What is the venue? And the dates?
Well, the
theme first.
The theme of the annual conference for this year is strategies for enhancing and sustaining positive values for national development. We have deliberately chosen this theme because we found out that there are certain basic values that some of us, even in my own generation, grew up with, and that affected the way we became adults, that affected our conduct. Values like doing unto others what you would like to be done to you. Values like being good stewards of resources. Even your own resources, you should be accountable for it. Values like loving your neighbor as yourself. All those values have been eroded, and we think that if we resuscitate these values and make them prevalent across the nation, it will address corruption, it will address terrorism, it will address misgovernance, because the focus will be on making impact anytime you find yourself in power. And we have invited distinguished Nigerians to do justice to this thing. One of them is Professor Wale Omole, a former Vice Chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University, He will be speaking on the role of public institutions in entrenching positive values in Nigeria. And we have Mrs. Anna Oyebanjo, the first and only black African to occupy the office of Marketing Director of GlaxoSmithKline. She is presently the managing partner of a consultancy organization. I don't want to mention the name, so you don't charge us for that. She will be speaking on leadership integrity as a core requirement for organizational effectiveness. And the chairman of session is the Vice Chancellor of Osun State University, Professor Shola Akinade. The special guest of honor is the Governor of Osun, of the state of Osun, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, to be ably supported by his deputy, Otumba Titi Larry Tomori, and the Deputy Governor of Ekiti State, Mrs. Fumilayo Olayinka. The other distinguished Nigerians like General Ani Akinade, who is also a distinguished son of the state of Osun, that will also be gracing the occasion. And of course, the program is holding at the Fenfield Park and Events on the around the Ibadan bypass, just adjacent to Leisure Springs. We're expecting over 500 participants from all states of the federation. Is
the invitation open to members of the public?
Yes, it is. The open session is open to members of the public, and we have sent out invitations to some distinguished Nigerians to be part of it. But of course, apart from those that have been invited, there are members of the public who will also be allowed into the program on payment of a token, because we don't have sufficient capacity to take care of the avalanche of people you will expect to want to grace such occasions. The program is starting on the 4th with arrivals and accreditation.
Okay, the other time when we are talking about membership, you talk about academic qualification and the payment of certain fees. So what is the fee if anybody wants to be a member?
Well, there are two major routes to becoming members of the institute. 95% of our members are admitted through the examination route, but we have a small window open to experienced practitioners who, by virtue of their status in organizations, are already strategists without a formal conferment of that title. And so we formalize their experience by bringing them in after a very short training. To be a member of the institute, it's under 100,000 naira. I mean, I don't like talking about money because this program really is not a membership program. Of course, those who have passed through have qualified to be inducted will be inducted on that day.
Do you have an office in Osun State?
We have a chapter in Osun State. That chapter will be 1 year. It's just 1 year old. We established that chapter June last year. They've been operating, from their cars, from their offices. Some of them, I won't want to mention their offices here, but it's a public spirited service that they are offering. But in the next few weeks, efforts are being made to ensure that in the next few weeks there will be, an office in a conspicuous area, office accommodation, yes, specifically for the chapter.
Who is the chairman of the chapter?
The chairman of the chapter happens to be one of your kind. Is Mr. Smollett Shitu Alamu. Is the chairman of the Osun State chapter of the institute, and I must say that chapter has very many eminent public servants, including the head of service, current head of service, Elder Shedma Kibusi, and then the number of permanent secretaries, and directors, high-profile members that we have, in Osun State.
What assistance has come your way from the state government as far as your conference and AGM is concerned?
The assistance has been tremendous.
Or do you say support?
And when you say yes, the support coming from the Osun State government has been tremendous. And when I say tremendous, I don't really mean it in monetary terms.
Okay.
The recognition of the role of strategy in transformation by the Osun State government was one of the best things that ever happened to the institute. At the inception of this administration, the institute organized, a retreat for all permanent secretaries and directors and heads of government, agencies in Osun State. About 250 of them for 3 days. They were not going to the offices, just coming for training because we needed to implant the strategy of this new administration. And specifically for this annual conference, the government has also supported us in terms of making commitments which we know, being an honorable government, they will live up to. But sincerely, I think the space that the government has given to the institute and the public servants in Osun State generally to embrace strategy and strategic management is the best thing that has happened to us in the last 1 year.
Yes, our line will now be open to members of the public who might want to be part of this program. Looking at the theme of your AGM, and again, why you are also bringing it down to Shogbo Osun State, the state of Osun. It appears there is a similarity, these virtues, Omoluabi stuff, or was that what actually attracted you to Shogbo?
Sincerely, it's one of the things that worked in favor of the state of Osun, hosting this conference, because we had bids from Delta, Kwara, and Anambra chapters to host this conference. But when we came here in February last year and we saw the enthusiasm, the commitment and the drive of the strategic leadership in this state, we said we will give everything to support this state, to achieve their objectives. And so we thought bringing the conference here will further cement the strides that the government of this state is making, and the virtue of Omoluabi will further be entrenched and exported to other states.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
What does the state stand to gain at the end of the conference?
The state has started benefiting tremendously from its association with the institute. It will only be consolidated and taken to the next level after this conference. I tell you, by the time you see the quality and caliber of membership, most of them will be coming to this state for the first time in their lives. It will be very clear that with deliberate effort and application of strategy, the human individual lives in this state will be transformed, lives of businesses in this state will be transformed, and the government of the state of Osun will be in a better position to deliver on its promises, because they will now be addressing public servants who are willing and able and who have the capacity, the competence and the capability to run with the vision of the state.
Yes, as you observe at the beginning of this program, is a bilingual, so you have to also speak some Yoruba.
But I don't have to change my
Okay. Ṣe ènìyàn wa kú látàárọ̀ ẹ̀sìnkú ojú òun. Ẹni tí a ń gbà lálejò àwọn ní ọ̀gbẹ́ni Adeyemi Mapaderun tí wọ́n jẹ́ akọ̀wé àgbà fún ẹgbẹ́ tó ń rí sí àmójútó nǹkan lọ́nà tí yóò ṣègbàlú àlùyọ bí a ṣe lè tu lérè fèlédè Yorùbá nìyẹn Nigeria Institute of Strategic Management Nigeria ẹ ṣẹkùn látàárọ̀.
ẹ ṣeun bẹ́ẹ̀ ló tù.
tábà ò bẹ́ ṣe gbé kalẹ̀ yẹn ẹ ní ìṣàmójútó nǹkan ìṣàgbàtẹ̀rù nǹkan oríṣiríṣi ẹgbẹ́ náà ló wà àjọ ló wà kíní kan of management kíní kan of management ẹ̀yin wá ní tiyín strategic bóun ti ń ṣe yàtọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tá a ti ń rí.
ohun tí ẹgbẹ́ wa fi yàtọ̀ sí àwọn ẹgbẹ́ mìíràn tí ó ń polongo bí a ṣe lè máa mójútó ohun ìní àti ohun èlò fún àwùjọ fún àǹfààní àwùjọ òun náà ni wípé àwa fi ohun tá a lè pè ní ìfojúsùn a fi ń wo agbègbè tá a wà irú àwọn àǹfààní wo ló wà ní agbègbè wa irú àwọn ìpèníjà wo ló wà ní agbègbè kí ni àwọn ohun àṣẹ̀dá tí Ọlọ́run ti dá sínú wa tó fún wa ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ láti lè ṣe àwọn nǹkan kan ju àwọn ẹlòmíràn lọ kí ni àwọn àbùdá wa tó lè jẹ́ ìdínà sí àṣeyọrí nínú ohun tí a bá dáwọ́lé tá bá wo ohun tá à ń pè ní management àbí ìmójútó ìṣètò tó wà lóde òní ohun tá a kàn máa ń ṣe ni pé a fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan báyìí ohun báyìí la ṣe tá a fi ṣe àṣeyọrí àwọn èèyàn báyìí la nílò ká tó pètè ẹ̀tọ́ nǹkan tó tún ti ṣẹlẹ̀ ní agbègbè wa ká tún jẹ́ ká sọ pé àtún lè ṣe lè mọ́ ń tá àtúnṣe òun lélẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá ń fi ohun tá à ń pè ní strategy ìfojúsùn ìrònú àmì tó kanlẹ̀ tó wá láti ilé wa tí ò ń ṣe pé ohun tá a ní lọ́wọ́ àgbàlagbà. Good morning.
Please, I want to ask that can I come for the AGM because I paid when I was.
Oh, okay. You are one of our members.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, good. I like that true confession. So this is your opportunity to attend the AGM. And let me tell you, for the category of membership, because you came in as a core member, you are going to admitted on payment of just 1/3 of what we are charging, and that's just 5,000 naira to get all the full benefits. I'm sure she will still be hearing us.
Thank you. That one is off.
Hello. So gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ṣe ń sọ àwọn nǹkan tó mú wa yàtọ̀ sí àwọn ẹgbẹ́ mìíràn nìyẹn tẹ́ bá dẹ̀ wo àwọn ẹgbẹ́ mìíràn wọ́n lè ní ẹgbẹ́ ìdókòwò ẹgbẹ́ àwọn tó mọ bó ṣe ń tajà market. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's move. Okay.
You are listening to
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm a student of Federal Polytechnic Offer. And I'm one of strategic students because it has been wrote since 2 or 3 months ago in our school. And we do our inauguration on our Saturday. But sir, what can you say? Because I want you to enlighten us more about the program and the benefits in the program that we can derive.
Well, we have talked about that at the beginning of this program. Then maybe briefly just take.
Let me just refer him to the website of the institute.
Okay.
exactly
ismng.org. When you get ismng.org, you will find a load of information on that website, and there are telephone numbers that you can call. Clarification. Hello.
lẹ́ẹ̀kan nígbà tẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ìdí kẹ̀sì ẹ ní gbogbo àwọn àyípadà rẹ̀ tá a rí nílùú Èkó torí pé wọ́n pè yín ẹ bá wọn fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ sáwọn àyípadà tá à ń fẹ́ lórí rẹ̀ tá a ti rí ṣé torí pé ìjọba àpapọ̀ tí pè yín ni àbọ̀n ti pè yín ẹ̀ rí.
àwa ò tiẹ̀ dúró kí ìjọba àpapọ̀ pè wá ní ọdún 2009 a ṣe ètò kan ní ìlú Àbújá ètò yẹn a pè ní Nigeria in 2020 tẹ́ bá fojú sùnùkùn wò ẹ rántí pé bí ọdún mẹ́ta mẹ́rin márùn sẹ́yìn à ń gbọ́ Nigeria 2020 vision 2020. Now ètò yẹn kò ń ṣe ètò tó jáde wá láti Nàìjíríà ìyẹn ni pé kò ń wà original
àwakọ́lá ní
àwọn àjọ kan ní ìlú òyìnbó Godfrey Sachs níbi tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú àwọn tó bá olórí orílẹ̀-èdè wa ṣiṣẹ́ nígbà yẹn gómìnà Central Bank finance minister tó ti ṣiṣẹ́ àwọn náà lọ yá èdè yẹn wá àwọn èèyàn jókòó wọ́n ro gbogbo àgbáyé pé ní ọdún 2020 àti síwájú àwọn ìlú wo lágbàáyé ni ó máa jẹ́ ìlú tí a lè fọwọ́sọ̀yà pé àwọn ni olórí ṣùgbọ́n torí àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà kan wà bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n fi Nàìjíríà síbẹ̀ pé hello good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Wale from Ibadan.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I want to know the benefit of the institute and the benefit if I want to become a member to ESO.
The personal benefit you mean?
Well, for you as a person, for every individual, the first benefit of strategic management is that it helps you to plan your life. You see, you cannot lead other people when you cannot lead yourself. That's why we say everyone is a leader. The first thing is that it turns you into a leader. In fact, there are many people who have abandoned what they have been engaged in for the past 10, 15, 20 years because they suddenly found out that they've been in the wrong place. They've been struggling with life. You see, there are things you do that gives you joy. When you now get paid for it, oh, it's like paradise. So those are kind of things, that our members, have enjoyed. When you talk to, core members or final year students, they want to work in those days in the banks. Do people want to go to the banks anymore? No. At a point, they said they want to go to the telecoms operators. But right now, those guys are not paying what they used to pay. So it's not where you work that matters, but what you are bringing to where you work. You can be in a school system and then become the most successful in your community.
Yorùbá
Kásálẹ̀ parí yẹn wà ní ètò yẹn kí ló dé ṣé wọ́n ti pè é ibi tá a fẹ́.
Ìgbà tá a lọ ṣètò ẹ nílùú Àbújá àpèjọba wọn ò fi gbogbo ara wá ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tá a ṣe tán ìròyìn wa ń tàn kiri pé àwọn àjọ kan máa ṣètò báyìí tó máa wúlò fún orílẹ̀-èdè wa. Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Finance nígbà yẹn àti National Planning wọ́n wá kọ̀wé sí wa pé ìwé ètò tá a gbé wá lọ́jọ́ yẹn o àwọn nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí ká fi ṣọwọ́ sí wọn ṣùgbọ́n a kọ̀wé sí wọn padà pé ìwé yẹn ọ̀rọ̀ òfé tẹ̀ kọ́ ìwé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá gbé ìwé tẹ̀ ká kò túmọ̀ sí nǹkan kan gbogbo ìtẹ́ nílò ni pé kẹ́ ẹ pè wá a wá fi sọ fún yín pé bẹ́ẹ̀ lè ṣe rí lélẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lè ṣe rí lélẹ̀ ìyẹn ni ìlọsíwájú yóò fi wà bá a bá fi ìwé yẹn lẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ yẹn ìjọba ti gbé ètò kan jáde wọ́n á sì bàjẹ́ torí wọn mọ bóyá láti ṣe.
Hello.
ẹ fẹ́ ṣèpàdé yín nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun
bẹ́ẹ̀ni
kí ló mú yín wá pínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun àbí torí wọ́n ní ẹgbẹ́ yín nípínlẹ̀ gan kì í jọdún kan lọ ẹ̀tẹ̀ nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun lẹ́fẹ́ kó gbàlejò ẹ̀.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni ṣe mọ̀ pé wọ́n ní tí egun ẹni bá jẹ orí àmàyà àtọkùn nígbà tá a bẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹgbẹ́ yìí nílùú Ọ̀ṣun láàrin oṣù mẹ́fà tá a ti rí ìgbà tá a dábàá pa máa wá síbí ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ò tí ì ju oṣù márùn-ún lọ tá a dá chapter wá sílẹ̀ ìyẹn fi hàn pé ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ láàrin oṣù márùn-ún àkọ́kọ́ ó tó fún wa láti sọ pé àá ṣe ìpàdé níbi àkọ́kọ́ nìyẹn ẹnkejì ni pé ìlú Ọ̀ṣun tá a wà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun yìí Ọlọ́run ní ète fún ìlú yìí o tẹ́ bá wo lóòótọ́ ìlú Ọ̀ṣun ò sí ní àárín gbogbo Nàìjíríà bí Àbújá ṣe wà ṣùgbọ́n ìlú Ọ̀ṣun àwọn àgbùmọ́nì àti oríṣiríṣi nǹkan ni Ọlọ́run ti fi síbi tó fi jẹ́ pé tí ìlú Ọ̀ṣun tó bá di ìpínlẹ̀ tó dára yóò máa ràn láti ìlú Yorùbá yóò máa ràn lọ sí ilẹ̀ Haúsá òun la fi ní ká wá sí ìlú Ọ̀ṣun bí ká tiẹ̀ rí bí ìlú Ọ̀ṣun ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun yóò ṣe lọ síwájú tí yóò fi ran àwọn ìpínlẹ̀ tó kù. a bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní ọjọ́ kẹrin oṣù tá a fẹ́ bọ́ sí ní ọjọ́ karùn-ún ní ètò àjọ yẹn gangan yóò wáyé ní Funfield Park and Event ní òpópónà Ìwó Ìbàdàn bypass ó fojú kọ ilé ìtura tá à ń pè ní Leisure Springs Hotel níbẹ̀ láti ṣe ètò yẹn. Aago 9 àárọ̀ òun sì ni gbogbo àwọn tí yóò kópa yóò ti jókòó tí wọ́n sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìforúkọsílẹ̀ láti di aago 7. àwọn èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀nìkọ̀ọ̀nì tá à ń retí lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ à ń retí gómìnà wa, àwọn ni yóò jẹ́ àlejò pàtàkì. A sì ń retí igbákejì wọn àti igbákejì gómìnà ti ìlú Èkìtì. Bákan náà ni à ń retí ọ̀gágun Àlàní Akínrìnádé tí wọ́n ti fi ìgbà kan jẹ́ adarí àwọn àjọ ológun ní gbogbo Nàìjíríà tó ń sì jẹ́ ọmọ ìlú yìí. Alága fún ìpàdé yìí ni ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Ṣọlá Akínrìnádé tí wọ́n jẹ́ alákòóso ti fásitì ìlú Ọ̀ṣun. Bákan náà ni à ń retí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Wálé Ọmọlé, àwọn tó ń ti fi ìgbà kan jẹ́ alákòóso fún ti fásitì Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀ ní Ilé Ifẹ̀. Àwọn wà lára àwọn tí wọ́n máa bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ní ọjọ́ yìí. Bákan náà ni arábìnrin Hannah Oyèbánjọ tí wọ́n ti fi ìgbà kan jẹ́ alákòóso fún ti ètò ọjà títà fún iléeṣẹ́ GlaxoSmithKline ní ìlú Èkó. Àwọn náà wọ́n máa wá sọ̀rọ̀ níbi ètò yìí. Àwọn oríṣiríṣi àwọn ènìyàn aláàrẹ̀ ṣẹ́gun ẹgbẹ́ tí ò bá ní adarí wa fún sáà yìí, àwọn náà ni ọ̀gágun tí ó ti fẹ̀yìntì lẹ́nu iṣẹ́ Leo Ṣẹ́gun Ajíbóríṣà tí wọ́n ti fi ìgbà kan jẹ́ alákòóso fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun nígbà tí a dá sílẹ̀. Pẹ̀lú àwọn ìsọ̀ǹgbẹ wọn ni wọ́n máa wá sí ètò yìí. Ọ̀gágun Ajíbóríṣà ni kí la máa pe chief host, olùgbàlejò pàtàkì. Àwọn ní olùgbàlejò. Ṣé ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun tí wọ́n ń ṣagbátẹrù fún yín báyìí, ṣé wọ́n ń tì í lẹ́yìn lórí ètò? Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ṣe agbátẹrù wa ní oríṣiríṣi ọ̀nà. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí lo àwọn ọgbọ́n àti òye tí àwa pàápàá tí a ní káwọn èèyàn máa lò láti ṣàkóso ìpínlẹ̀ yìí. Àwọn tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ ìjọba ní ìpínlẹ̀ yìí pàápàá wọ́n ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa, ìyẹn sì ń farahàn ní ẹnu iṣẹ́ wọn. Bákan náà ni wọ́n tún ti pinnu gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìpínlẹ̀ láti tì wá lẹ́yìn fún ètò tí a fẹ́ ṣe yìí. A sì gbàgbọ́ pé ètò ti lọ lórí.
Kí ni ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun fẹ́ ṣe láǹfààní? Kí la fẹ́ rí láǹfààní?
Àǹfààní tí ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun yóò ní òun náà ni àǹfààní tí ẹni tí a kọ́ bí ó ṣe ń pa ẹja dépò pé a fún lẹ́ja, àǹfààní tí yóò máa jẹ títí ayé. Torí ohun tí wọ́n bá kọ́ ní inú ìpàdé yìí yóò máa wúlò fún ọ títí ayé.
Sáwọn tí ó kàwé lè darapọ̀ mọ́ yín?
Àwọn tí ó kàwé lè darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lótìtọ́ àti lódodo, nítorí kò sí orílẹ̀-èdè àbí ìlú tí ó fẹ́ fẹ́ ni tí ó kàwé ṣe adarí. Nítorí àwọn tó ti kàwé dé bí dìgírì àbí tí ó farajọ́ tó ti kàwé gboyè ọyà àkọ́kọ́, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n ní àǹfààní láti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa.
Ẹ ṣé gan àlejò wa. Viewers out there, we are coming to the end of today's edition of this program, Saturday Morning Treat, our news magazine program, the 63rd edition, today 23rd June 2012. We have been having as our last guest on this program the Registrar, Institute of Strategic Management, Nigeria, Mr. Adeyemi Mapaderun. You are welcome once again.
It's my pleasure to be here, and I want to encourage you to keep up the good works that you are doing.
We pray and hope that you have a successful AGM in the state of Osun.
Thank you so very much.
So on that note, we have come to the end of today's edition of this program. Join us same time next week for another edition of the program. But I must acknowledge those who are accompanying our guests to the studio. The Osun State Chairman of the chapter, his name has been mentioned, Smollett Adetoise Shito Alamu, the consultant, Mr. Obiyemi Obitunde, and the secretary of the Institute in Osun State, Sheon Oshimosu, and Mr. Dayo Orimogunje, a member. We thank you for being part of today's program. So as I was saying, I want to thank everybody who have contributed to the success of today's program, the producer who has been running here and there, and the assistant producer, the cameraman, Thompson, Babaride, and those on the VTR and the MCR audio. I thank everybody, and till next week when we meet again. My name is Abiodun Olalere with another of our colleagues who will be moderating this program next week. Tony.
Well, I say join us next week. Good morning.